Welcome to our Urban Legends podcast. I'm Dr. Gloria McDaniel Hall. I've been a teacher, a principal, and assistant superintendent, all within urban schools in Chicago and around the country. Our Urban Legends podcast is a forum for sharing ideas, strategizing together, and supporting each other as we dismantle the deficit narratives sometimes associated with urban education and discuss where and how amazing work is being done. So, good morning, everyone, and welcome Principal Dr. L to another episode of our Urban Legends podcast, where we are dedicated to changing the narrative about what happens in our schools. I'm so excited. So I met Principal L, I can't remember, I think it was around 10 years ago when he was a keynote speaker at ASCD, and I was mesmerized. You know how sometimes you go to conferences and choose which thing you're going to go to. And I was so excited that I got a chance to hear him because it was life changing. And then I became his friend on Facebook, and I can't believe he's allowing me to interview him this morning, but I'm so excited. So before we get started with the real questions, why don't you just kind of talk us through, Principal L, like a snapshot of your career in urban education?
Yeah, first of all, I'm honored to be here. So I don't know why you can't believe I'm on with you. I'm honored you have me on, with you, someone who served so many years, in schools in Chicago. You're truly doing God's work out there. And then the work that you're doing impacting leaders and other educators at the university level is so needed. So it was a blessing and an honor to meet you at the ASCD events. They don't call me as much for ASCD. I don't know why. I don't know if I, blew the roof off and, but
I have no idea
I don't know
either.
if you
They're
can see,
missing
but
out.
I got Malcolm X up here on my shirt. So I'm really, I'm in my moment because, it's February, it's Black History Month, and Black History is, 12 months a year. And I'm actually working on a new book with ASCD, on really, supporting our children and helping to develop these equity focused schools and leaders, trauma informed. So I'm really excited about that. But I'm going to be real brief on my intro because most of these folks out here, if your podcast is Urban Legends, right?
It's
So,
urban.
and you got to understand urban legends, folks get scared because, that some horror
That's
movies
got a negative
in the hood.
connotation. I'm changing that narrative.
Right, you change it. I love it. Changing the narratives because people always associate urban with being bad, urban with being high poverty, urban with being high crime, urban with being bad schools. But listen, we come from that environment. We are roses that grew from concrete. We know what can happen. The important thing is to have those adults there who care, who build those relationships. And that's how I got my start. I had teachers in elementary and middle school and high school who supported me, raised by a single mom in the city, in Philadelphia, which is all urban, but there were so many who came before me who created a legacy, in our great city. And they're struggling now, but there's so many educators who supported students like myself. And I put on Twitter, posted on Twitter yesterday that often I think about, can I keep doing this? Am I at the end of the road? And then I start thinking about the educators who sacrificed and who didn't give up on me. And then now I embrace the struggle. I appreciate it and say, you know what? I got to keep going because they didn't give up. If they had given up, I wouldn't be where I am, today. And I know it's tough. We got thousands of people leaving the profession because our nation never truly appreciated educators and especially urban educators.
Yes.
So it's truly, a blessing for me to be able to be here with you so we can highlight the great things going on in our, urban and inner city schools. And even in some of those suburban areas where folks now, the suburbs don't look the way they used to.
Oh, yes.
So you have some of those urban issues that are now moving into those areas outside of the city, but went away to college, came back, started working in television, went to talk to some high school kids about my job in TV. And the kids were like, how come these teachers saved you? How come you don't teach? Why Why are you trying to be, the next Bryant Gumbel, and it touched me. And I thought about that. And I eventually, quit my job and enrolled in graduate school and got a master's degree and a certificate to teach, and started teaching. And that was back in 1997, and I've been going at it full time ever since, 35 years. And I've never looked back, 22 as a principal. And, I wrote my first book, I Choose to Stay, in 2003. And Disney bought the movie rights to that book. And that was kind of how I blew up a little bit. Nobody really, I wasn't the urban legend. I wasn't even the legend in my own mind at that time. But I began to go out and start speaking about the work I've been doing with young people, teaching them to play chess, helping them get out of the city and get to school and that kind of thing. And, people now say, the lady said to me the other day, she said, your story's like, I can see your movie's going to be like Lean on Me and The Queen's Gambit had a kid, and that became your movie. I was like, I like that take on it. But that's really what it's about. But I said, but less of the Lean on Me, because I don't have the baseball bat and the bullhorn, but it's more of the love and the compassion and the empathy and the understanding that our young people and our teachers need today. That's what I'm trying to bringing the positivity, but also in focusing on our young people, critical thinking, problem solving, patience, reasoning. That's what the chess teaches them. It's a great equalizer.
I love
And
that.
it's helped them to go on to do great things. So I'm moving on to now being able to impact other teachers and leaders. I'm still a full-time principal, but now I'm thinking about, what's my legacy? Like, who's coming after me? Who's going, take over after, people like you and me have moved on. And so that's really where the focus of my work, and a lot of that is right on social media,
Right.
through Twitter, Instagram, Facebook, and now I'm building up my YouTube page, making sure folks have access to the content. I Choose to Stay University. I Choose to Stay Chronicles. Everything is about choosing to stay. Making that choice.
To stay.
Yeah,
it's so vital. And it's just like, when I think about we know that the most important impactor of student achievement in schools, any school, is the teacher.
Right.
And I'm really concerned about the fact that, number one, urban schools have the reputation that's out there, that most of the time this reputation is floated around because of what we see on television or what we read about, but not by people who are actually in there doing the work and making it happen. I've watched your career since we were at that ASCD conference when I first found out about you. And I know that there has to have been opportunities for you to leave your school or do other things, but you chose to stay.
Yeah.
What is that about? What is that about?
Well, that's how the kids came up with that title, because when I was a teacher, I wanted to become an assistant principal. And most people in the school knew it. I wanted to have a greater impact, but I didn't want to leave my students at the time. And I got a call. Well, my principal called me in his office, and I talk about this story and I Choose to Stay. Principal called me and said, listen, I got a call from the superintendent. They want you to take an assistant principal job at another school. And this was a Friday, and they want you to report on Monday. He said, I didn't even know you were looking for a job. I said, listen, I wouldn't be out looking for a job without talking. My principal was a Cap. We both were Kappas. And says, no way I would do that. I didn't apply for any jobs because I wasn't ready to leave the students right now. And he said, well, somebody applied because the superintendent called and they want you to take over school. And the school it was a middle school not far from our school. And they want you to start on Monday. And I said, sir, I'm not interested in the job. And he said, well, I'll let them know that, but they're going to call you to verify. And then later on the day, I got a phone call in the classroom. Secretary called and said, Chief of Staff is on the phone, and got on the phone. And Chief of Staff said, listen, we talked to your principal, talked to Mr. Adams, and he said, you're not interested in this job at, Fitzsimons Middle School. I said, no, actually, I'm not. And I said, I appreciate the offer, but how am I going to tell these kids that I'm not going to be here on Monday? I said, I'm one of the few male role models I have. I said, I never had a father. My father was never involved in my life. And we tell these children it's not about the money. And then I'm going to take a job and leave, in one day. And she said, well, it's a 25, $30,000
$1,000
raise. I said, how much?
Buy
She said
kids, no.
25, 30. I said, man, I said, Lord, I said, I appreciate that, but
Couldn't do it. Couldn't
I'm
do
gonna have
it.
to turn it. I said, I'm gonna have to turn it down because, I said, we already have very few Black male teachers, in the city, so for me to leave, I just can't do it right now. She said, well, listen, where I said, you're probably gonna never call me again for a job. I'm gonna regret this, but I'm gonna stand on my word with the kids because I tell them that it's about more than the money.
Yeah.
And she said, there probably gonna be so many other schools when they hear about you turn this job down, they're gonna want you to come in. Principals are gonna want you to come and work for them. And eventually, I did get an AP job right at my school, so I was able to stay,
Perfect.
which was great. And then a couple of years later, I took over an elementary school 1 block from my school. So I now had a chess program in the elementary and in the middle school. I ran, both programs and was principal and was teacher, but that's, and then, so the story was when I turned down the job, the teachers and the rumors were this man turned down a $50,000 raise in a brand new car, right?
Not a car.
In a car, right? And and the kids said, listen, we appreciate you, choosing to stay because we choose to stay here. Like we could be in many, we could go to many schools, but we choose to be here. And once I decided I was gonna write the book, I chose that, as a title. I was glad the publisher supported it, but I wanted that to be the title because it's a choice we make. And it doesn't matter, even people who leave, you still chose to stay. So I don't want people out there in the audience thinking, well, I decided to do something else, because you're not teaching at the K-12 level anymore, but you chose to stay. It's all about the decision, the choices that you made. It's not about where you are right now. Because listen, sometimes you got to stay, you might choose to stay in a relationship. You may choose to stay, in a particular neighborhood or in a city. Just make the choice if you're going to be there, be present, have an impact, like you said, right? Don't be compliant. Choose impact over compliance. And that's what that choosing to stay really, is about. So, they're making it hard for people to make that choice to stay out here, right? With this pandemic, we really see how much people, then they want to take everything, want to check, they want to see our curriculum, and you got to post your lesson plans, and they want, listen, I'm like, come on, folks, let us do our job. Let these teachers teach, let these teachers build these young minds, and you will see, but they want to micromanage. So make the choice, make the bold choice. And when you make it, stand by it and be there for the young people. And God will bless you for sure.
I love it. I love it. So one of the most impressive things, I have your Immortality of Influence book that I am reading right now, and I love it.
Right.
There's a couple of things from that book that I want to talk to you about, but the quotes that you use just blow me away. So this one quote that I read, I can't even remember which one of your platforms I read it on. Stop praying for a lighter load and start praying for a stronger back.
Amen.
What made you write that? And how do you actualize that?
First of all, I don't stole that from a preacher somewhere.
Oh, cool.
Right. Because I'm sure that's some scripture in the Bible somewhere. But I took it and made it one of my mantras, and I may have changed a word or two, but really, it's really about the work that we're doing. It's not going to get any easier. No. They keep putting more on our plate and make the plate smaller, but they put more on the plate. So we can't even support what they're giving us. So, the message in that is really, let's become better at what we do. And when I say stronger, I don't mean, don't work yourself into the ground. No, what I'm saying is a stronger back means let's get the professional development we need to make sure we're building relationships. Let's connect with other educators who may have had these same experiences, who can help us lighten the load. Excuse me. Let's work with our parents. Let's work with the community. Let's get these students in some after school programs. Let's get to know who they are outside of school. Let's help build a strong culture. Let's help teach them who they are, that their history didn't begin with slavery, that they come from kings and queens. They came from people who developed mathematics, who developed science. So that's really what it's about. It's really about us becoming more of a unit and becoming stronger at what we do, because we know, and we're learning this now in the last couple of years, folks out there are really not trying to make things easier for us. And even though they know people are leaving, they're still making it's still making things hard. So we just have to, and that also means taking care of ourselves as educators. This is very stressful work.
Yes,
So
it
we
is.
got to be eating right, exercising, getting good sleep. All of those help to mitigate the stress of our jobs and our profession.
Love it. So another thing that I read in the book that, man, it just really highlighted the importance of getting to know students and getting to build relationships with parents and students was a story of a fire that happened in one of your students' homes, and how
Yes, ma'am.
you heard about the fire, and even though you didn't have a lot of money, like went out of your way, and I think you put them up at a hotel for a
Yeah,
week,
yeah.
or and got the family things that they needed. The reaction from the student was like, I didn't tell anybody because I didn't think anybody cared, or it was something like that. But you did that. And
Yeah,
it just highlighted the fact that if we don't get to know our students, you never would have heard that story if you
right.
weren't like hypersensitive for figuring out the needs of students.
Yeah, and I don't even know. And the thing is, I think I almost found out about it by accident. I don't even think I did anything in particular to get the information. Somehow the student had mentioned it to someone, or maybe the parent. And I was single at the time, so I was one income, new teacher, but it was just no way I was going to like have this family. And I think the issue was that it was really not a lot of family members willing to try to take them in. And I just said, I got to find a way. So there was a hotel not far from the school. And the hotel worked with me to set up, to give them a room. I explained to them the situation. They had been displaced from the fire. And they put them up. And what's deep is this young lady ended up graduating from college. And I had forgotten all about that. She was a student I helped. But after she graduated, she talked about, she said, I never forget how you helped me in middle school. And she started talking about the fire. And I was like, oh, Lavisha, I forgot that was you. And but she didn't forget. And she just said, I just want to thank you, for just believing in me back then, supporting me and my family. And she sent me an email or something. I actually attended the graduation. So she didn't say that. She must have sent me a thank you email afterward or whatever, but she mentioned that. And and it just lets you know how these students hold on. That's why I tell people, like my 4 C's of school success are being crazy about kids, being curious about their lives outside of school, consistent adults in the lives of children, and then creating a culture of high expectations, lots of love, in our school. Um, and that young lady understood that I needed to hear that at that time, and being connected to her and knowing about what they needed. She never forgot that, and she let me know that she didn't forget that. She held on to it, and I appreciate that, because oftentimes we complain that students, and I tell my students, you never say thank you. You some do, but I often tell them, go and thank other educators. But we have students who will come back to school, they graduate, come back, and they're thankful. But we always love. So for all you students out there,
Yes.
please know that your former teachers love to hear from you, no matter what you
Yes.
are doing. We just want to know you are alive out there,
Yes.
and making a difference. But reach out to a former teacher, educator, just a staff member, cafeteria, bus driver, doesn't matter who it is. If it was an adult who made a difference in your life, find a way to reach out, connect to them, and let them know you're thankful for the impact that they made on your life.
Outstanding. So, okay, so I see the chess pieces in the back and they are impressive. And what you've done with changing students' lives around learning this game and competing and at the national, international levels around chess is outstanding. So, if you could just before we get off, tell me briefly how how did you figure out that chess was the thing, and how has it actually impacted the lives of students you've worked with?
And these students are urban legends in themselves, because
That's
it's
amazing.
not now, in 2020, 2020, on 2022, you have students in Chicago, Detroit, Philly, Atlanta, LA, different in urban centers who are really doing big things in chess. But this was back in the 90s, when the chess world was like all white. You had some Asians, but so yeah, and I'm going to send you, email me, because I'm going to send you a copy of I Choose to Stay. I want to autograph a copy and send it to you. So email me
Yes.
so I
Yes.
can send you that, my first book. Because in the book, I talk about, how, I'm in school and, I'm trying to find a way to reach the young people, and they're making bad decisions. I worked in the middle school. In 10 years, we had almost 20 kids in our community who had been murdered. And I know in 2022 that may not be big news, but in the 90s that was big
That was
news.
big.
Having young people, be murdered. And so I had to find a way to teach these students that they can make good decisions, better decisions. And chess was the key for me. My brother taught me to play chess when I was young, but he only taught me enough moves so he could continue to beat me, right? So he didn't help me become a good chess player. So I had to study and read, and then I started playing with the kids, and the kids were beating me, beating other teachers. I took them out to play against other schools, and I was teaching special education student chess initially, mathematics on the chessboard, right? Trying to teach them some other ways, to learn math, and knights move on the right angles, bishops move on diagonals. But these students started beating other players, and they were, kids are like, "You play chess? Aren't you in the learning disabled program?" And they say, "Yeah, let's play a match and see if you should be my roommate," right? So, and then all the kids started playing and started winning, and they went on to win state championships, national titles. Arnold Schwarzenegger came to visit our school,
Oh my
talking
goodness.
just when he wanted to run for president, talking trash about how he played chess when he grew up in Europe. And I said, "Arnold, you don't want to talk about chess in this school with these kids. Challenge one of my young ladies, Gloria. Challenge one of my girls, and challenge little Denise Pickett, top 50 chess player in the age division in the nation." I said, "Arnold, you don't want to play Denise." He said, "No, I want to play her." And Denise said, "I was nervous. He's rich, he's famous. He's married to a woman who has more money than he does, so I know he's upset." I said, "Oh, they teach you earlier, Denise." And she said, "I checkmated him just like he was another guy." And Arnold said, "You terminated the Terminator." Wrote a check
That is
for
the best story
wrote
ever.
a check for our program for $20,000. We've never received a dime from our school district. We raise money, corporations, churches. Also, these students travel all over the country: Seattle, Portland, Arizona, Florida, New York. Young people from our school even traveled to Yugoslavia to play against the national team. That's how powerful this program was. And the program was alive before I came to the school, but the chess program had died, and I restarted it. But it was just amazing what these young people do. And now they went on to some you graduated law school, master's degrees, many are teaching. One of my former chess players at my school there is a principal of the school right now near me. Right. He was one of my chess players, and now he's my colleague principal. So that's the immortality of influence,
I
right?
love it.
So you never know how you're touching, these young people. And I'm most proud of our young ladies who the chess team was all boys, and the girls joined and took it to another level. Good Morning America a year ago did a story on our young girls and playing chess. It was around the Queen's Gambit and how that became popular. But the idea is chess is very popular with young ladies, especially in Chicago, in your home city. There's some strong female chess teams in the city, urban chess teams, young ladies
I'm gonna have to check that out.
doing great things. So yes, chess has been my tool, chess and math, with our young people. And I'm just so thankful that they've given me the opportunity, because they could have told me, "Principal, well, get out of here with that chess, get out of that math. We don't," but they didn't. They said, "Bring it." They embraced it. It was a struggle for them, but they learned and they went on, and now they're teaching chess. I have one of my former chess players started his own chess company where he now sets up chess programs in schools. He's an entrepreneur. So it's truly been an amazing opportunity for myself, and for my young people, because when they win, I win.
Oh yeah.
That was the message that I always taught them, that I don't win unless you win. It's not about me. I can't be a drum major for myself. Dr. King said, be a drum
Some
major
major
for
for
just
others.
be a
Yes.
drum major for others, right?
Yes.
And that's what I've tried to do. Now I've fallen, I've slipped. There have been times when I catch myself being selfish, but I'm human, right? And I make mistakes. But my goal is to be a drum major for those young people and for the teachers and educators who are out here, in the trenches. And I've told these children from day one, my goal is for you to get into Penn State and not the state pen. That's the goal,
Love
and
it.
still going.
Love it. Okay, so usually when I'm talking to my guests, things that they say bring quotes to mind. And what has come to mind since we've been talking is that, the Linda, I think it's Clyde Wayman TED Talk, where she goes into a school and changes it. And her mantra is, so what, now what? Like, so what? Whatever she's faced with, whatever it feels like, whatever you've been faced with, like you found a way to help students overcome things. You found a way to help yourself overcome things. Like if you were to give advice to school leaders in our urban schools where we are changing the narrative, we're going to change the narrative. I'm convinced we are. What would be like your final piece of advice for our school leaders who are maybe facing some difficult situations?
Right. And ironically, the school that the lady turned around in Philly was actually Strawberry Mansion
Yes.
High School, right?
Yes, it was.
And
yes,
that's
it was.
actually the school I went to speak in and talk, and the student said, you need to become a teacher. It was that school, back in the 90s. And I went back and started teaching at that school. But my message for leaders would be, understand your role. We all need to understand our role as leaders. Our role is to serve. Leadership is about service. If you don't serve, you can't lead. You can't become a leader to become a boss. People don't admire you for being bossy. Serve. And if service is beneath you, leadership will always be beyond you. And this time that we're going through right now is a very struggling time. It's a time where we're all struggling. Is that we need to really have, we need to be passionate, but we need to be compassionate. So compassion before passion, and understanding we need to empower others so that they can serve, so that they can love, and they can lead others. So lead with compassion, lead to empower, lead to serve, and lead to love.
I couldn't even, that's it. You did. Drop the mic. Drop the mic.
I was about to start rapping for you. Because I do that sometimes. I go into class and young people tell them, y'all don't know old school rap. We invented rap. Y'all don't ruin rap. We invented it, and the Super Bowl's coming up, and they got all these old school rappers at halftime of the Super Bowl. But these young people, they're gonna get a chance to see, what the true art form of rhyming is true. Because these rappers now, you can't understand what they're saying. The true art, of rhyming. So I do that for my students, sometime, but I'm going to leave it right there. Lead to empower, lead to serve, lead to love. I think I got me a new mantra.
You got a
right
new
from you.
Thank you so much, Principal L. It's been a pleasure.
Amen. God bless you.